And I've known Carson's dad, Randy Stoltz, and most of you probably know Randy Stoltz, and I think of him as the DST guy. So a DST is what, if you've been an apartment owner for a long time and you don't want to buy another property, you don't want any more toilets, but you also don't want to you don't want to pay the tax, and you want to sell your property. So if you would explain kind of what a DST is and what other investment opportunities you have through yourself and your dad, that'd be great.
All right, perfect. Is it on? Yes. Yep. Okay. All right, so Delaware Statutory Trust Fund, or a DST fund. It's securitized syndicated real estate, to make it as boring as I possibly can. If I were to break down what securitized means, Zach touched on that just a moment ago, how we're underneath the SEC umbrella. So that's what securitized means in my world. I license myself under FINRA. Syndicated, we all understand what syndication means. So for DSTs, these are all institutional size and quality real estate funds that are eligible for 1031 exchanges. So to give you an example, or better yet, a story, a client of ours owned a 12-door multifamily complex, nothing too big, but it was a nice little complex, and it did well for them. However, as they were getting to a point in their life where they no longer wanted to have the responsibility of all those wonderful T's of what landlords have to put up with, all those toilets, termites, tenants, trash, and of course, time. They wanted to find a way to get out of that, but still retain that landlord-style income, but they sure as all gosh did not want to realize and pay all those taxes, especially in the recapture. So we were introduced to them by another CRE professional, and we were able to have a discussion with them of what DST funds were and how they could benefit from it. And what they were able to accomplish was the biggest check box on their list, which was, I want to retain my income, not pay taxes, but I don't want to have to do anything. Where DSTs are 100% passive. So that was able to check that box for them. And not just that, when they were going through their exchange, they had debt on the property. They had to bring that with them. And of course, they're liable for that debt. That's on their shoulders, on their balance sheets. But when you're 1031 exchanging into a DST fund or funds, that debt is now going to be non-recourse to you, the investor, and it's all going to fall into the shoulders of the general partner, the DST operator. So that was another benefit that they weren't really aware of, but it benefited them at the end of the day. And this couple, that married couple, they could not go out and buy and own industrial warehouses where Amazon and FedEx were paying their monthly rent. There are the tenants of a lot of these buildings and companies like that, or in the hotel world, Hilton flies the flag there, or you have other 100, 200, or 300 door DST funds in the multifamily space. I'm sure they could have got to that on their own over some years, but overnight, no. And now they're able to have their entire real estate portfolio look a little different because they have this diversified portfolio where they own a little bit of industrial warehousing and self-storage and multifamily. And that allows them to broaden their scope of what they own in the real estate world, but also now it's diversified geographically. So now they have some properties in Texas or Tennessee or North Carolina. Maybe they have it in Florida. It's a touchy subject right now. But that allows them to have a wider range of their overall real estate portfolio. So it allowed them to keep that taxes deferred through the 1031, monthly stream of income, like nothing ever happened. It kept on flowing. So that's, yeah.
So one thing.
I'm sorry, one more thing. Like I mentioned before, that married couple were introduced to us by a couple of CRE brokers. They were able to bring that offer to their clients, to the potential sellers, and they liked the offer. They wanted to sell, but they didn't have a landing spot because they could 1031 into another landlord-controlled property, but same problem, different day. That's when the DST came into play. And now that broker, they were able to move the needle along for that sale, but most importantly, they were able to bring out an extra arrow out of their quiver and give a solution to their client that helped them achieve their goal.
What happened to their property? Did they 1031 into the DST or?
Great question. So yes, anyone that's going to perform a 1031 exchange, it doesn't matter what you're selling out of, if you're able to perform a 1031, you can go into a DST and you can 1031 exchange out of a DST. most people, when they go into the DST world, they like the DSTs because it's passive. It allows them to have that income without having to do a gosh darn thing. Now, there have been a few people that we've had discussions with where, as of lately, and back in 2022, interest rates are pretty high, and they wanted to use DST as a potential or a temporary holding spot. DSTs by nature have hold times between 4 and 8 years. That's typical. But back in 22, when this gentleman wanted to sell his office building out of Mesa, he had about $1.5 million of debt on the property, and he was going to have to exchange and replace that with a higher interest rate. Back in 2022, people were oftentimes qualifying for debt in the 7, 8, 9% range, where all of our DST sponsor companies, they were in the 5s. There's a pretty significant margin of a difference there because all of our DST sponsors, they have billions of dollars on their balance sheets. They're a very low risk to lenders, so they get low rates as a outcome.
Good. So again, you have Carson's information, contact information, and again, if you're a real estate agent and you're trying to get a deal done, and the seller doesn't want to pay the taxes to the government, this is a good option. And if they don't want to buy another building.
Right. And able to get you that landlord-style income, completely passive. It's a nice win-win for most people. Some people like to keep their hands in the mud, and that's fine. I like building sandcastles too.
So one other fun thing that Randy was telling me when I met with him a month ago about trying to be a sponsor, he said, I've got this son named Carson. You know where he got his name? You want to tell him where you got your name?
Johnny Carson. That's who I was named after. But I don't know if you know this or not. My mom saved me because he originally wanted to name me Marlin after a fish. Don't know where that came from, but I owe my mom a lot.
Anyway, you just want to have something to remember who that guy was. Oh, yeah, it's Carson.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. And again, thanks for your dad. Just kidding.